Hi, I'm back again. I know it's been a while since I posted anything, and I want to apologize for that, but I've had a whole pile of things I've been doing at once here. And sometimes the real world makes life busy, it gets in the way so much. To begin with, I've been updating a script of mine called Ashuadi, which is for a language that I have been working on for a while trying to create. And basically, I stopped working on the language because I wanted to have the right writing system. And then I kind of got locked in a loop of updating the writing system. So it's undergone, I think, 118 revisions, and it's just about done. I'm about at the point where I think I can say it's done and I don't need to do anything more with it. So I thought I'd produce a video to show you that, show what how it works and what state it's at there, before I decide it's done for now and move on to another project. First off, if you've watched any of my videos before, I used to have these nice long braids. I really liked them. One of them caught on a hook on a cupboard and I tore it out, so I had to cut the other one off. So those are gone, unfortunately. I'm going to be getting them back eventually, but I got to wait for the beard to grow out and for all the missing hair on the side here to actually grow back in again. I've also, in the meantime, decided that I want to learn to ride a motorcycle. So I've gone and taken a motorcycle safety course, and I still have to get a bike, and I still have to decide what I want, but that's been a distraction too. I'm also going to be doing Twitch TV. So I've been setting my computer system up to let me broadcast on Twitch. And while I was doing that, it occurred to me that the software that you use to broadcast on Twitch was absolutely perfect for recording videos for Patreon. So this is the first effort doing that using OBS. And I particularly want to thank my good friend Actual Kevin on Twitch TV, who helped me set up the sound so that it's nice and clear using the microphone you can see hanging here. He got it all balanced perfectly, and he's got a great channel. You should look up Actual Kevin. He broadcasts about No Man's Sky. Now, how to describe Ashuadi? The language is intended to be a Semitic style language, so like Hebrew or Arabic and Syriac and other languages like that. And those are what are called triconsonantal root systems. So a word in any of those languages basically, and this is a oversimplification, but it basically consists of a root usually of 3 consonants, and the vowels that appear between those consonants come in patterns, and those patterns determine the variation of the meaning. So forgive me because I don't speak Arabic, but in Arabic, KTB means things to do with reading. So kitab is book. I think kitabu is books, but I'm not sure. Yaktab is he reads. And I may have that wrong because, like I said, I don't speak Arabic. But what that means is that the patterns around those consonants, in terms of vowels, and sometimes a vowel with a consonant inserted in between the consonants that are in the pattern, determine the variations of the meanings. If this sounds complex, you have no idea. I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to create a paradigm for generating all the words that I would need for my language. And I'm trying to work on the grammar and see how that impacts things. And it doesn't help any that I don't speak Hebrew and I don't speak Arabic and I don't speak any other Semitic language. But in the process of designing that language, I started looking at writing systems that relate to Semitic languages. And of course, I've looked at lots of them before. I'm sort of a geek in terms of writing systems. But one that caught my eye, and which I'd seen before and always loved, was a version of Arabic writing called Kufic. Here, I'll bring up a sample. This is a sample of Kufic. Now, I can't read that. I know it's written from right to left, but that's about all I know. But I love the way it looks. I really love the way it looks. So I thought, well, if I'm going to design a writing system, maybe I can base it off of Kufic. I don't read it. I don't know how it works. I'll take the shapes. So the first iteration of the Ashuadi script that I created was based solely on the shapes of Kufic. Shapes like you can see there. So I pulled apart the shapes and said, well, that could be a letter and this could be a letter, and I'll just build something up. And the first versions of the script looked very much like Kufic, of course, because I'd lifted all the shapes. But I realized after a while that wasn't all that original. I could do better. So I've started the process of modifying the original one through multiple iterations to make it less Kufic, to put pointy bits where there weren't pointy bits in Kufic, to redesign the thing. And along the way, I thought, well, I'm not quite making exactly the writing system I want, so I'll start looking at other shapes from other writing systems and mix some of those in there too. Sorry, fire alarm. Truck going by, I think. Okay, so that's what Kufic looks like. The writing system that I've created is intended to work with syllables. I thought that would make it easier to read. So I'll show you the syllable structure here. Now, this will need a little bit of interpretation, but what this means is that any syllable in Ashuadi will absolutely consist of at least a vowel. That's the V1 there. It might optionally have a consonant before that vowel. That's the C1. It might optionally have a second vowel after the first vowel, usually in a diphthong. And it might optionally have a consonant which closes it up, and that's the C3 there. So I wanted the writing system, for the sake of clarity, to reflect that structure. Now, I don't know what you know about Arabic, but the letters tend to flow together. Not all of them, but mostly they tend to flow together. Some of them are marks above and below and things like that. I won't get into all that. But Ashuadi is a little similar to that, but it works in consonant clusters. So that's probably as clear as mud right now. What you're seeing here is the inventory of the writing system I've created, and you're only seeing part of it because my screen doesn't show everything here. So I'll scroll down. These are the letters that are assigned to keys at the top, and then down below here are all the other letters in combinations that they can appear in. And that's all, let me bring that up. That's all controlled by this scripting that I've written here, which goes through and looks with every key type to see what should be displayed to get it right. And if that looks fairly complex, it is, although I built up some of the chunks that are in there from other writing systems that I've created. But it lets me do some interesting stuff, or at least interesting to me anyway. So if I bring up, here, I'll wipe that out. That's not of interest. Oh, I should note, I don't actually have any real completed writing system or written language or whatever for Ashuadi. It's still in pieces and bits that I'm busy cramming into each other to try and get it to work right. So what I tend to do when I'm analyzing the way the font is working is use words from other languages that are similar and should reflect the right results, usually just place names and stuff like that. So there's a type of, I don't know how to call it, Judaism perhaps, called Ashkenazi. Okay, if I type A, I should point this out too. You want to look at the bottom window there. The top little bit in here is where I'm typing characters. This shows just the characters. This down here shows the modified stuff based on all the code that's over here. So if I type in A, I get that symbol there. That's my A. If I type in S, it's joined to this symbol here, which is my S. If I want to make that, that would be As. If I want to make it Ash, I put an H in there, and instead of drawing the H symbol as you see up here, it puts a dot underneath, making this SH. K, it starts a new syllable. So it's clustered that one there because it knows A plus the C3 that was in that diagram there, a final consonant, is one syllable. Then I'm starting a new syllable. So E, so that's now KE there in the second cluster of glyphs. N, so Ashken would be written that way. But when I hit A again, it turns into a third syllable. So it turns into the NA. If I add a Z, it adds a Z to the end of the third cluster here, and that would be Ashkenaz. But the moment I type an I, it switches it to the ZI syllable pattern there. Now, it might seem odd to have things flipping back and forth like that. If I was handwriting this, I would know what I was going to write in advance, so I would write the correct version of a syllable. But because this is a computer and I've set up these rules, it will change things and flip things around until they're in the right format for the word that I was using. So again, let's see, that started with a vowel, so let's start with a consonant, T. This is I don't have an instance where you would just have T, and the rules that I've set up for a syllable say you can't, but I still have to define what it looks like on its own, because I have to put something into the computer. So TA, it will switch, and it will lose that little hook at the bottom there and look like this, TA. SH, and it adds the SH symbol there, KENT, and it drops that at the end there. Now, within my language, you cannot have a consonant on its own like that. So there would have to be a vowel in there, and the Central Asian city of Tashkent would probably have to be something like Tashkente, like that. Okay, let's see. What else is there to show in here? When you create a constructed language and you're documenting it, you have to talk about it in an existing script. I speak English, we use the Latin alphabet, so what they call that is Romanization. It's how you transcribe stuff. So when I write the Ashuadi words that I'm creating in this script, I have to have a Romanization of it, and I've chosen to make that as simple as possible, so that if you have SH for sh, you just type SH. If it's KH for ch, like in a Scottish loch, then you type KH. If it's ch, as in cheese, you type CH. All of that is incorporated into the code that I've written here, and is done automatically. So I have a symbol for T, S. That's the symbol for TS, like tsetse fly, which you'd write like that. So that's all incorporated in there. Most of the final forms of syllables for the consonants are just the reverse of the regular one. Not all of them, but if I was to write gag, G-A-G, you can see that here, this is the way the output would look. Everything sort of turns into palindromic forms. If I make that G-A-G-H, so it would be gar, then it will add the dot in there down here that indicates where it would be. Down here, sorry. I'm pointing at the wrong screen. Too many screens open. Let's see, what else have we got in here? Oh, you can have long vowels where it extends things. So TA, but if I type A twice, boom, it draws a longer line before it does the A. The second A. It doesn't actually draw two A's. It's not like it's going A like that. Although if you type AA, it will produce this shape. So it's a fairly complex script. I like the way it looks. And I'm hoping that I can finalize all the changes that I want to do to it so that I can actually start working on the language again. And I'll probably get distracted by something else and start working on a different script, but I'm hoping that I can actually get it working properly. Then I can start working on the proper version of all this sort of stuff and begin building the language out. I've got a lot of work done on the structure and everything else like that, but man, it is complex. Perhaps if I'd finished my linguistics degree, it would be a little bit better, but I never got that far. So I'm still working on Patreon. If you follow Twitch TV, you'll be able to find me there as That Font Guy. And I'm going to be doing this font stuff, which is rather dry for most people, but if you're into this, maybe it's interesting. And I'll be talking about what I think about constructed writing systems and constructed languages and things like that. And I'm also going to intersperse that with playing a game called City of Heroes, which I've always been a massive fan of. So you'll probably see both on there. I'm still working on Patreon. Any new writing systems I come up and any revisions to any of my fonts will get posted there. Some of the stuff I give away for free. Some of it, if you pay me the dollars, a month support, is only accessible then. I'm doing my best to keep that stuff up, but some of this stuff gets very, very involved to do. Building a new script, not so bad. Revising an existing one to make tiny little changes. And, well, I'll go back to that screen there. If you look at what I scrolled past there before, each of these script entries here, each of these squares has a different version of a glyph in it, and they all have to be built mostly by hand. Some of them I can cut and paste, some of them I can't. So these represent various syllable combinations and then final forms, long vowel forms, things like that. It just seems endless. And every time you're doing it, you'll discover, oh, I've forgotten this thing, and it gets included at the end somewhere. I try to avoid that. I try to plan it all out in advance. So let's pick something nice and complex here. DZA. This is the glyph for DZA. All of this stuff has to be drawn by hand and put in there and lined up appropriately and then tested against just about everyone else, every other symbol there to make sure it lines up properly, and that adds up. And that's why it's taken as long as it has to get me to the point where I can make this video. I really want to thank any of you who have supported me on Patreon. If you haven't looked at that, please look me up on Patreon. I'm there as National Neographics. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm on Twitter as That Font Guy. I'm on Twitch TV as That Font Guy, although I have only just gotten started with that, so there's nothing up there right now. And I'm trying to produce this stuff for your entertainment, education, whatever it might be, for your interest, as quickly as I can. And I'm geared up now, so I hope I'll be able to improve the rate that I produce stuff. Thanks very much for watching. If you made it this far, go get a coffee, because that was probably kind of dry.